Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
From epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
So take a seat,
Grab a drink,
and get cozy.
All right, well, welcome back, everyone. Speaking of cozy, what is making you feel cozy these days? For me, I've been cooking a lot lately.
Good.
Love that.
I'm back to the cooking era.
Okay.
So yeah, I made
Are you still following the
birria
same
tacos.
recipes? Ooh.
Yeah, I've been finding some new recipes from that same Sophia. From
Shout out, Sophia.
Lufkin. Yeah, hey Sophia. Yeah, I've been cooking more. So yeah, I made some birria tacos.
Oh my god, that sounds so good.
And those were really good, I'm not gonna lie. But they sell those birria like bombs that you can just put, and there's a reason they sell those, because let me tell you, I wanted to make it like from scratch, like the sauce that
How
they
many
go,
ingredients is
and
that?
it's a fair few, and they're all like dried peppers, and so you have to de-seed.
Yep.
And you
That
know,
takes a
if you
while.
don't cook with dried peppers a lot, you know, you have to kind of like unwind them a little bit, like get the stems off, and that makes it easier to just kind of open it up to de-seed all of it. Yeah, that was a lot. And like these are like tough, leathery guajillo peppers, and
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That is a
So
lot
So how
of
long
work.
did that take you to make from start to finish?
that was an all-day kind of
Yeah.
event. So
Yeah.
because I also made like some pinto beans.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so it was.
Exactly why I don't cook.
I know. Yeah, it's so much
I'm just
work.
saying. So but it keeps me feeling a little cozy.
Good.
Yeah,
in the
of
kitchen
course.
stuff.
If
But
you
yeah, I will
enjoy it,
be-
like that's a great like therapeutic
It
activity.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of zone out. But yeah, anyone that values their time, birria bombs may be a good way to go. So I will be using in the
Good
future.
pro tip.
So for me, I have really been leaning into my siblings lately. So for those of you that don't know, I am actually currently working on my PhD. And this morning I did like a part one defense of my dissertation. And so all of last week has been about preparing, practicing, really getting comfortable with my material. And I have been really leaning on my siblings to practice on them. And they have just been so patient with me. They have sat through Zooms with me. They have sat through just nights of me doubting myself. They have been keeping me cozy. They have been giving me the confidence that I felt like I needed. I mean, I didn't really need it. Obviously, I killed it, but it's because of them.
Yeah.
You know, like they really just helped me feel better about myself, and they took the time out of their busy schedules to really just be there for me. And so I really appreciate that. I really appreciate them, and I hope they're listening to this, because like I don't think that I would have gotten through last week without them. So that's what kept me cozy.
Dude,
I'm
you're
really
making me
excited.
like tear up a little
I
bit.
know, I'm
It's so
tearing up,
sweet.
y'all. Like it
Yeah.
just takes a village. Like it really does. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever take credit for solo credit for things that I've done. Like I've always been able to lean on my family, especially my siblings, and especially even like my in-law siblings too. Like they've all been there for
Yeah.
me too. So I just really appreciate them for that.
Yay.
So yeah.
Love the fam. That's
Yep,
so
yep.
awesome.
Love it, love it.
Well, for me, so I talked to you guys a few weeks ago about how I wanted to prioritize going to the pool more often. So we've been doing that. And yesterday we had some friends over to hang out at the pool, and it was such a good time. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the universe just wants to be overcast every time we decide on a pool day.
Man.
But thankfully, it didn't rain this time, so we actually got to enjoy the pool. And it was actually nice that it wasn't blaring hot sun
That's
on us the
awesome.
whole time. It was
Yeah.
a little bit overcast, but not like too crazy. And the temperature was just perfect. We just had a great time. So
It's awesome.
I just,
Love that.
you know, taking some time to relax is always going to keep me cozy.
I love pool days. I'm telling you, that is
Yeah.
one thing I really miss about moving to Austin is like not being able to go hang out with you at the pool. We would have high noons, like White
I
Claws. We would just sit at
know.
the
Oh
pool
my
all
God.
day. Like that was
It's
our
my
pool
favorite
days.
activity.
Yes. So I freaking miss that, man.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know if we've been keeping a calendar, but we just noticed that we have been podcasting. The podcast has been podcasting for 6 months. We've hit
Yay.
our half-year milestone. Yay.
Oh my
It's so crazy.
gosh. Honestly, when we started this, like it's all been about just like let's talk books. Like let's have our own little book club discussion. And it's been so fun that I did not realize we've been doing this for 6 months, y'all. Like
I know.
what?
It's just been such a like natural part of my life since we started that I'm just like it's crazy to think we've been doing it for half a year already. And it's funny, like the cheesy saying, like you don't notice it's work when you're having fun.
Yeah.
And that's so true. Like I just enjoy this time with you guys, and otherwise I don't know that I'd be keeping up with you guys as much as I am.
Yeah.
So like, I'm also grateful for that aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's very
absolutely.
true.
Absolutely. So in keeping with that, right? Like we're 6 months in.
Yay.
So we've been keeping it under wraps, but we're very excited to announce now that we are coming out with our newsletter. Our newsletter.
Yay!
Yay!
So
It's so very
excited.
exciting.
Yes.
I feel like I'm like, gosh, we've been doing it long enough for us to have like a newsletter.
I know.
So very exciting.
This newsletter like really came from us having brunch together.
Yeah.
We found this like really cool brunch spot in Round Rock, and we came up with some of the best ideas for this. So like, thank you, brunch.
Yes.
Thank you, mimosas.
Just gets the creative juices flowing. But yeah, so we're, you know, as Ethan and Jen have both mentioned, we have decided for our 6-month mark to go ahead and launch our newsletter. It is called the Between Book Friends newsletter. So our plan with this newsletter is to be in your inboxes once a month with some behind the scenes, like updates on the podcast and just extra content that we want to share with you guys. And hopefully it'll just be a fun little extra thing that we can do for you guys with this newsletter. So if you want to subscribe, please go to our social media. It's in our link tree, and there's a link now to subscribe to it. And our first newsletter will be launching on Friday, August 29th. So this episode should be launching on Monday, the 25th. So you have a few days to make sure you don't miss any of our newsletters.
Yes, subscribe, please. All right. So before we get into our deep dive, I'm going to pass it over to Jen for our PSA.
So before we get started, friends, I just want to give a quick warning. If you're listening to this episode, we are assuming that you have read through chapter 23 of the book. So there will be spoilers throughout. And I also just want to take a time to say thank you to the people who have been leaving podcast reviews on Apple Podcasts. But not only that, but leaving really fun comments for us to read on our YouTube channel. I know that's one thing we really haven't pushed out very much, but like we have a YouTube channel, guys. Go watch us on YouTube. I've been loving some of the comments you guys are leaving. So I really want to just highlight one Apple podcast review really quick from the Inked Book Wife. She gave us 5 stars and she said, "Great show. I always love listening in to this podcast." And then from one of our YouTube followers, XVXB, she wrote, "Hey, your podcast deserves a lot more interaction. I really like the conversation you guys have." So thank you so much for taking your time to leave those. We love reading them. We love getting those comments. Thank you guys. So if you're really enjoying our banter and our discussion and the books that we're covering, please take time to leave us a review on our podcast. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Yes. Thank you. All right. So let's go ahead and start diving in. I'm going to give us a little bit of a summary from this section so that way we have some context to pull from for our discussion. And I don't know about y'all, but this section was a little lengthy for me. I enjoyed it a great deal, but it was very lengthy. So if you were reading along with us, we appreciate you. And so hopefully it pays off here where we can discuss it.
Hey,
No, I felt
the
the same
end
way.
of the section is what really picked it up. So like now I'm really looking forward to our next one.
To our next one, yes. But before we
Right,
get
right.
there,
It was a struggle to get there.
all right, so we start in chapter 16, right? Our previous episode, there had been a little bit of a scuffle, and Vin was injured. So after weeks of healing, Vin starts piecing herself back together physically and socially. She notices there's something different about Sazed and learns that Terraceman stewards are eunuchs and that Sazed himself is a keeper, one of those entrusted to preserve lost knowledge, which I thought was really cool. We'll talk more about later. Boredom gnaws at her, but Vin presses Kelsier to let her attend another ball. Their conversations also reveal more about Mare, Kelsier's late wife, and about the process of snapping, how Allomancers are broken into their powers. At Keep Ilarial,
Sure.
Vin becomes more comfortable in her role as Valette, even catching the eye again of Elend Venture, who arrives with his usual pile of books. She notices something more sinister, though. Shan Ilarial, who appears to be a soother herself, and nobles whispering about treason. Outside, the glitter, the violence continues. Kelsier murders a noble and leaves the body to incite chaos among rival houses, while secretly trading rumors with an informant named Hoyt. Back at Felice, Marsh teaches Vin the finer points of seeking and shares more about Allomancy. Meanwhile, Kelsier journeys to the rebel caves, confronting his own memories of the pits of Hathson while inspecting Ham's growing Ska army. He manipulates a duel between recruits, ensuring loyalty and cementing himself as a symbol of rebellion. At the end of this section, Vin deepens her bond with both Sazed and Doxson, learning more about Farukami and the grim injustices the crew members endured. I feel like one of those kids that like you got called on to read and you're like,
oh my god, yeah.
Fuck. I hated that.
Sound it out. Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce hypotenuse, okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, Vin deepens her bond with both Sazed and Doxson, learning more about Farukami and the grim injustices the crew members endured. Doxson's bitter story about losing the woman he loved fuels Vin's doubts about nobles, but her budding relationship with Elend complicates things. At another ball, Shan tries to recruit Vin into spying on Elend, while Elend himself surprises Vin by confessing his disgust with noble abuses. He too signals courtship, handkerchief and all. Curious, Vin secretly follows him to a tower meeting where she overhears Elend and his friends openly discussing the Empire's flaws and daring to imagine change. The section closes with Vin caught between two worlds, the rebellion Kelsier is fueling and the dangerous but hopeful possibilities she sees in Elend. All right. And with that, it is time to dive into this chunky section.
Yeah.
So, again, we're doing our 3-2-1s, right? 3 things that stuck out to us, 2 characters that had impactful moments, and 1 prediction we have going into the rest of the book. So, 3 things that stuck out to you?
Okay, so this was a lengthy section, but there were a few things that really popped out for me that are setting up for the next section, which I hope we get a little bit more explanation about. So one of the 3 things that really stuck out to me was just some of the aftermath of like Vin almost dying. So there were some changes that were kind of noted here. One of them being that Kelsier kind of came off as a little bit more reserved. And so Vin, I even asked Sazed, like, if she thinks it's because he feels guilty about her almost dying. And so Sazed says, like, that's probably part of it. However, he's probably also finally realizing that this mission is more than he originally thought. So he says, however, he is also coming to realize that there is a large difference between heading a small crew of thieves and organizing a large rebellion. He can't take the risk he once did. The process is changing him for the better, I think. So are we seeing finally a little less arrogance from Kelsier? I don't know, because then later he does something that really irritated me. But right now, like in the beginning, at least of the section, like Vin is kind of seeing a more reserved Kelsier. But the other change is in herself. So like, because Vin can't go out and work on her skills, work on her Allomancy, like she has really kind of leaned more into her role as a noblewoman. And she's even come to admit that she's gotten more comfortable with this role. And she feels like she can actually easily fit into this than being an Allomancer. Like, She enjoys the lunches, the balls. Like, I'm sensing a little trouble here. So
Yeah.
this is actually leading me into my next point, because the next point, as I was reading this, I was reading it, I was like, shut up. You cannot be serious, Vin. I was really shocked at her way of thinking. So another thing that really stuck out to me was a conversation that Vin had with Doxson about the nobility, right? And so this was a really interesting conversation. What the heck, Vin? So it started off by Vin wanting to know more about Dachshund. You know, she felt like she didn't really know him, so she was just like asking him more questions about his time as a ska plant in the plantation, right? And so she found out that someone Dachshund really loved was taken by his master. So a little bit of backstory: the nobility are not allowed to have children with the ska. So if a nobleman has sex with a ska woman, he has to kill her soon afterward to just like prevent that. And so that's what happened to Dachshund's loved one. Like, it was just really crazy that when Dachshund was telling her this, Vin tried to defend the noble people, like the nobility, about this. I was just like, whoa, where are we coming from? What happened to that mistrusting girl that couldn't believe anything anyone said? Like, it's really, really scary to see how naive and impressionable she's being here. So this is what she said to Dachshund. She said, I know that's what some of the Scots say, docs, but the people at the balls, they are not like that. I've met them, danced with them. Docs, a lot of them are good people. I don't think they realize how terrible things are for the Scot. Like, excuse me? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Like, how are you that impressionable? Like, what happened
Right.
to you? Like, that really scared me. Like, first I was annoyed, but like that really scared me. It's like, if you're really that easily influenced, then this whole mission is kind of fucked.
Yeah.
What did y'all
Well,
think of that?
I think it just shows her age and naivety. Is that how
Mm-hmm.
you say it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, before your like frontal lobe is fully formed, have a hard time grappling with the dualities of people. People can be good in certain cases and at the flip of a dime be evil.
Mm-hmm.
And both can be true about one person. She is coming at this from the perspective of a noble woman. So, of course, all of these people are treating her nicely. They're treating her like she's got value. And she's taking that in as like, oh, these are good people. But she's not interacting with them as a ska. So she doesn't see the other side of who they are, of who they
Right.
could be. I'm not saying that all of the nobles are bad people,
Right.
but it is very naive of her to think that they're all good people just because she hasn't had a bad experience, at least not on this level with
Right.
any of them, and not considering the fact that she's interacting with them as an equal to them, not as
Right.
a ska.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it also kind of draws a parallel to the epigraphs that we get that we assume are from like the Lord Ruler's perspective, right? Because
mhm.
we see whoever the writer is, right? We see them struggling a lot with very similar choices that Vin is having to make as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so it really begs the question like, oh shit, if she's dealing with the same stuff that this guy was or that this person was, is she going to make the same decisions ultimately, right? Is
hmm
this going to be like she truly could, it's like an RPG fantasy game,
yeah,
right, where you like your decisions affect the fate of the world,
Right.
and so it's going to be a, it seems like this would be a position to where when she does truly come into her full power, like, is it going to be good for the world or is it going to be really bad for the world, you know?
right.
So
It's
I
all
think
about
when we see
what you do
moments
with
like
that.
this, yeah, it brings that idea to the forefront because she is making a lot of very immature decisions based on a
Yeah.
short amount of luxury that she's been exposed to.
Yeah. I will say though, like your comment about the parallels here, like is pretty interesting. However, I think there's a different person I was thinking about when I thought about the parallels between the journal. It wasn't Ben I was thinking about, it was Kelsier, but I'll
Yeah.
get more into that when we talk about like our two characters. But interesting that you brought that up. So But yes, this moment with Ben and Doxson, like that really ties into the prediction I also have. So like I'll save more of that later because I think definitely more is going to come out of this, like for sure. The
I
last
think she's in for a rude awakening
a
for
hundred
sure.
percent, 100%, yeah.
Yeah.
So the last moment that really stuck to me was the conflict that Kelsier created in the cave. So I'm telling you, I go back and forth on liking Kelsier. Like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Like, there are moments where I'm like, okay, all right, cool. He's doing the best he can for this rebellion. And then the other days, I'm like, what are you doing? And this is one of those moments where I was just like, what the fuck, Kelsier? So I didn't
Yeah.
really fully understand the purpose. And so when I finished kind of like explaining, I want to hear what you guys thought. So
Hmm.
in this moment, Kelsier went to go visit the caves where all the army is at, and he was
Hmm.
asking Ham if there was anyone within the ranks that has had maybe some quiet opposition to what's going on with the plans to overthrow the empire. And so Ham pointed out at this big guy who was sitting and having their dinner. And so Kelsier decides to get up and he makes this huge motivational speech about overthrowing the empire and how they're going to do it, just trying to excite everybody, right? And then he's like intentionally using his powers to rile this guy up. And he got it to where the guy got up and he openly opposed Kelsier in front of everyone. And so Kelsier makes someone within the army, like, yeah, within their army, like challenge this guy to a duel. And Kelsier uses his powers to help the guy beat this guy who was opposing them. And so I was like, well, A, I didn't know you could do that. So we learned something new about that. And then B, like, what was the purpose behind it? Like, why are you giving false hope to this army? Because in the very end, like Eden said, like, whoa, like now we really have a chance, Kelsier. Like now that we know you can pass your power on to other people, now I know we have a chance. And I'm like, that's false hope, like 100%. And so the comment that he made to Ham really pissed me off. So Ham said, you just lied to my entire army, Kel. And then Kelsier said, no, Ham, I lied to my army. I'm like, whoa, like it's not even your army. Like, this is Eden's army. And then he said, it's only a partial lie. They don't need to be warriors. They merely have to look threatening long enough for us to grab the adium. So, like, here it goes back to exactly what I said in our first episode, where I think he's selfish. I think that he's not the good guy that he's portraying himself to be. He has his own agenda and he's going to do whatever it takes to get that done. So, I was just really angry at this section. Like, I don't know what you guys thought about that.
So before this is going on, when he asked him for to point him out somebody that's been like maybe not as into this rebellion idea, was noticing as he was inspecting the army that they're putting together in these caves that they're not like a good army, and some of them seem to be maybe a little bit scared or worried that it's not going to be enough to really overthrow the final empire, right? And so he wanted to figure out a way to make sure that these people had confidence in themselves to follow through with their plan, because he could see a lot of them possibly defecting when it came time to like actually execute on his plan to overthrow the empire. And so what he did in helping this guy, his champion, out in the duel is he made them believe that he could pass his powers onto them, because it was mentioned before that this god didn't really understand what Allomancy was. They just knew that the Mistborn had some kind of magic and they didn't know how it worked or how they're able to manipulate them. It doesn't even seem like they know about like them manipulating metals to be able to perform these like feats of what just looks like magic to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they were dueling, Kelsier was using his allomancy to help the guy's sword actually find its mark, help him move when he needed to get out of the way and deflect a blow from the other guy. So this is a Ska who has no idea how allomancy works. So he just thinks that somehow with magic, he now has these abilities that he didn't have before.
Right.
And so now the rest of the army is like, "Oh, well, Kelsier can like pass his abilities on to this whole army. Now we're puffed up feeling like we can really do this thing." And that's why Yedin got so excited too, because he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." And so I think Kelsier's motivation was just to make sure that his army didn't fall apart when things got serious.
But I still think he's being very selfish about it. Like,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think, I
No,
don't think,
totally.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think he's
But
being
that
like,
was why he was doing it.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a section dedicated to showing his character arc, you know, like he's growing, but just not in a way that we may want to see, you know. Like it's still very much his revenge plot, and like he's even calling it his army, right? Like he's
At
not
any
shy about
cost.
it. Yeah, like this is my plan, and you're just so happen to be here because I need you when I need you.
Like they're all just a pawn in his greater scheme to get to the Lord Ruler.
It really upset me when I read that. I was like, that's
I know,
not cool, dude. Like, you're no better than.
Right.
Which we'll get more into when I talk about my two characters.
So my three things that stuck out to me, I'm gonna keep them fairly short and sweet to the point. The politics, right? We got a whole lot of stuff with the politics in this section, and I'm loving it. Especially, like, of course, if we get a section where there's, you know, a gala or a ball, there's going to be the sideline behind the scenes game, you know, quote unquote game that's being played. I love those moments.
Okay, are you guys feeling the same way about those parts where it's giving me a lot of like the energy of Bridgerton?
Yeah.
And like and like the hierarchies and all that stuff, and I love that.
Kind of runs through my head a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Dear readers,
Yes.
Lady Whistledown,
Oh my
but
gosh,
with murder.
Right, yeah.
Well, of course.
The stakes are higher.
Naturally.
Yeah, with murder. Like a lot of the gossip, a lot of that behind the scenes, like,
oh my God,
you know,
the gossip.
Yes, the gossip.
One thing about me is I love gossip, and as long as it has nothing to do with me, I want to hear it all.
So yes, the politics. Loving all of that. One thing that I noticed was it did not take long, and you hinted at this earlier, for Vin to get a taste for the life of luxury.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And almost have like a little sense of entitlement with it too. Like, I'm just acting my part. I'm Valette. I'm just acting the part though. Like I'm not really, I'm not, it's like Lindsay Lohan or Katie Heron trying to convince herself that she's not really plastic.
Yeah. That's a really good analogy actually.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm just infiltrating. I'm doing my job. Yeah. You're full-blown plastic right now.
And I want my picture.
Oh my God, that's so perfect.
And I don't understand how she literally went from like a super mistrusting girl to now she's like, I'm just one of them. Like, how did you do that?
Yeah. Okay.
It seems very sudden.
This was also making me think back to why Reen tried to pound it into her head not to trust people. Maybe he knew this about her character and was like, I need to keep you safe. Do not trust people. I'm still on team Reen probably had his own reasons for this stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, still not a good situation that she grew up in. But there was a moment where she talked about her mother I think when she was talking to Docs, right?
I think so, yeah.
She was obviously not a good person to grow up with. And so...
like killed her baby sister.
Yeah. A lot of trauma in her background and in Reen's background. So I don't know. I just feel like I want to give him a little bit more benefit of the doubt, not saying he's a good person. But this right here, what we're talking about, then all of a sudden she's full plastic, you know?
I actually think that you had, I think you had a point, Steph, earlier when you were like, she's acting her age. I think she's just a regular, which I think now she's 17. She's a regular 17-year-old just wanting to be accepted into this new circle. And she just wants to probably get attention of a boy because she hasn't had any positive attention ever. And so now that she's getting it, she's just like, oh, these people that are giving me this attention, they're all good people. And I'm one of them, you know?
It's very naive.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's true even in the case where she was dancing with that other guy and she was
Mm-hmm.
like, and I view Elend as like a brother. I'm only asking because I view him as like a
Oh
brother.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she was like
Yeah,
leading
she's
this
already,
guy on already. I was
yeah,
like, come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like
She
a
Give the
knows how to
man a
full-blood
play
break.
it.
noble.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's playing
Yeah.
guys already. That's so
Yep.
I know,
funny.
and she doesn't have just an innate talent for just the allomancy. She's got an innate
Right,
talent
yeah.
for the life of luxury. But yeah, yeah, she got accustomed to that very quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
even in
Right.
her interaction with Ellen, like she said something that really pissed me off. She was like, "But they're just ska." And
Yes.
when she said that, I was like, "She's not acting. Like that doesn't feel
Yeah.
like she's acting
No,
into
it
the part.
didn't. Yeah.
She's a little too method,
That
you
is
know."
how
Yeah.
she's feeling for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
so
feel like if someone pushed back on her for that comment, she would be like, I was just acting, but there's
Yeah.
no way.
And
Yeah.
she even made a
yeah,
comment about like how she has gotten so used to wearing the dresses and how she loves
Hmm.
them now. And I'm just like, girl.
Yeah. Oh, that
yeah.
reminds me when she asked Cezed, like, why am I wearing slippers? Everybody else is wearing heels.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
Heels
girl,
take
baby
practice.
steps. You
Yeah,
gotta
for
walk
real.
before you run. You can barely
I
dance.
loved his response to it. He was like,
Yeah.
"Heels take practice."
Yeah.
And then my third thing that stuck out to me is this Shan Ilario. She needs to take a chill pill.
Hmm.
And she stuck out for all the wrong reasons.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. But I did appreciate her character. If anything, that she humbled Vin just a little bit
Yeah.
when she was like this and just like referenced her by waving her hand at her. She's like, this is wrong. This is
She's the
you.
Regina
I
George
was
for
just
sure.
about, I was like, okay, Regina.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
She's
like
the queen
Regina
bee.
meets Edna mode, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
That's good. I'm
Yeah.
really
No.
curious as to like how she's gonna really play into this later because it
Oh, yeah.
seems like she's got her claws into Ben and she is not gonna let her go.
I know. And like Vin is still new to this. Like she needs to
Mm-hmm.
be careful around Shan. Shan was born into this.
Yeah.
And she's the queen bee. Like this could get
Yeah.
real so fast. Yeah. Okay, so my three things. I am really curious about why the Lord Ruler is so afraid of the Terracemen.
Mm-hmm.
So he seems to really try to be keeping the Terracemen under his thumb to the point where he is controlling their reproduction even, which is like that is the ultimate form of oppression,
Yeah.
you know. So this is a conversation that Cezed and Vin are having, and Cezed says to Vin, but in a way the Ska are more free. Most Terracemen are raised from birth to be stewards. There are very few of us left, and the Lord Rulers breeders control our reproduction. No Terraceman steward is allowed to have a family or bear children. All Terraceman stewards are eunuchs. So, like, this is the ultimate form of oppression, right? And you don't do that unless you're afraid of something that these people have. And, you know, we've already discussed that these people are keepers. They hold knowledge, they hold history. And I'm like, what do they know that the Lord Ruler doesn't want to get out, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that this whole time, like I'm like digging into the epigraphs. I'm like really paying attention when Sazed is in a scene because I'm like, there's something here
Yeah.
that the Lord Ruler is trying to keep secret for some reason.
Right.
So
I mean,
Yeah.
I
there
have a theory
was
on that I'll talk about later.
Yeah, that also plays into one of my predictions. Yeah.
so
Okay.
there is a mention about how the Terracemen had their own religion and that's a lost religion. So even though like
Right.
even though he's
Oh,
like
the irony.
right?
Crazy.
Even though he's like
Yeah.
the keeper of all religions, he doesn't even know his
Mm-hmm.
own. And so I think that maybe that's tied into what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
that he's like keeping from them. Because like this makes
It's
me
gotta
think of
be.
like what Rebecca Yarros kind of like talked about
I
in
was
her
just
books.
thinking that.
Yes, about the lost generation. You know, it takes just one generation to erase history, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so like that's exactly I feel like what he's trying to do here. He's trying to erase history. I'm with you
Yeah.
on that one, Steph. I thought that exact same thing, and I'm wondering what it is because these journal entries stories, he's been talking about one of the terrorismen that has been traveling with him.
With him,
yeah. And he even says something about how that terrorisman is jealous and hateful of him. So I'm wondering what happened between them that made him hate that whole population, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I've got a theory that I'm going to bring in at the end of our discussion today. But yeah, I am locked in on this thing with the terrorisman. There's something here. And then my second thing was about Vin snapping. Did she ever snap? Okay, so this is a conversation between Kelsier and Vin when they were talking about how Kelsier's Mistborn abilities snapped when he was in the pits after Mare was beaten to death for not getting enough ADM one day. So I guess they must have had a quota that they needed to excavate from the pits of ADM in order to not get beaten. And one time she told Kelsier that she had gotten enough for the both of them, but it turned out to be a lie. She gave Kelsier what she found of ADM, and she actually didn't meet her quota. And so she got beaten to death for that. And Kelsier witnessed her death. And he says that this is what caused him to snap. And he says to Vin, snapping is an allomantic term. Our powers are latent at first. They only come out after some traumatic event, something intense, something almost deadly. The philosophers say that a man can't command the metals until he has seen death and rejected it. So I'm curious, we talked about this a little bit before in our last episode, I think, about Vin's powers. She seemed to be a natural, and she was already kind of unwittingly already practicing allomancy with just trace elements that she had in her system and calling it luck. She didn't even know what she was doing, but she was already practicing allomancy before even having been trained. And so I'm like, and we talked about maybe she didn't need to snap. Like her abilities are so great that she didn't need a traumatic event to bring that out in her. But there was that conversation with Docs about this traumatic event that happened with her mother when she was a child. I can't remember if she said she was like 6 years old or something like that. But what happened is that she told Docs that when she was a kid, they apparently had a baby sister. And one day when Reen came home, their mother had killed the baby sister. And she was holding Vin in her lap and like just having a complete mental breakdown. And so that was the point when Reen took Vin away from their mother, and their mother just like lost to the wind. We have no idea what happened to her. And that's when they started bouncing around to different cities and like lining up with all these groups of, I guess, unsavory people. And so that could be a traumatic enough event for someone to snap, I would think. But it's not confirmed. Like even Vin doesn't remember this event. When she was talking to Docs about it, she told him, Reen said, and she doesn't even seem to remember this event. So, you know, it could be an event that caused her to snap. But I'm like, did she ever really though? Like, it's still unclear. What do you guys think?
Okay, well, because I was going to take it in a different direction. That yes, I mean, I think something probably traumatic happened to her. Obviously, like that's how you snap. But I thought that was. Was it ever? We read a lot in this section. Was it ever revealed why she lied? Like Kelsier's wife lied about providing enough ATM.
It doesn't get revealed why she lied, but it just gets revealed that she was the potential betrayal in the group. So there really wasn't a lot of connection, because apparently even the Lord Ruler said she's the one who betrayed you, because she was like, he was thanking her for the information
when they got caught.
Yeah, but there wasn't like any connection to what happened in the pits and why she lied about that. They were just assuming that she did that out of guilt.
Yeah, and they talked about that too in that conversation. Vin asked if it was Mare, because she had heard that it was, and he said, you know, I'm not sure, but he then told her about the Lord Ruler thanking her. So even so, while they were in the pits, wasn't even sure if he believed it or not, that she was the one to betray them.
Right. So it made me think that maybe the reason that was revealed, and also with the idea of snapping into place, right, was maybe his wife knew of his heritage and did something that he would view as traumatic, right? And what would be more traumatic than seeing your spouse die right in front of you by being beaten, right? And so that made me think of, well, maybe this revelation serves two purposes. One, we get a little more insight into Vin, but we also, maybe this was the reason that Kelsier was able to snap, period, because his wife knew and
herself
sacrificed herself for the greater good, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought of it in a different way whenever I read this part. So I think that they're assuming she snapped because she had so many traumatic events in her life. They're like, one of them had to have caused that, right?
She grew up in it.
I don't think that. I still think she's something different because even Marsh picked up on how quickly she picked up on the skills that he was trying to teach her. And she even made the comment that like, nope, it just feels natural to me. And so I think there's something else there. I don't think that she snapped in the sense that Kelsier did. I think that maybe I still think she was probably just born with it and that she's something different than what Kelsier is and that she's more powerful.
Yeah.
Maybe she hasn't snapped yet, period. Maybe she's just that
she
powerful
has like this other level
that she can do that without snapping first.
That would be interesting.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that whole conversation was interesting when they were talking about snapping. And she even asked Kelsier, what do you think made me snap? Or have I snapped? Did I snap? And he said, it's unclear because like you kind of grew up with trauma. So,
yeah.
And I don't think we've talked about this, but I don't think it was in this section, but the section before, Kelsier reminisced about how he grew up. And he grew up basically as a nobleman until their dad found out that they were actually Ska, and then they lived their life as Ska. So he kind of grew up in this lap of luxury and then no longer had access to that. So he doesn't have as much trauma until later in life as Vin does. And then my third thing was feruchemistry. I don't know how to say that. Feruchemy? Okay. Anyway.
Feruchemy.
So, okay, this is what Sazed's extra power is, and this is different from being Mistborn or misting. So they're able to like funnel certain aspects of themselves into metals rather than like burn metals to enhance their abilities. So this is again something I've never read before in any other fantasy. So obviously this sounds so interesting to me and I want to learn more. And so this is a conversation that Sazed and Vin were having when he revealed Feruchemy to her. Our art is called Feruchemy and it grants the ability to store physical attributes inside bits of metal. And so the way he was able to save Vin when she had that run-in with those inquisitors at the palace is that he was storing his eyesight and was able to see better at night and like find her when she was like at the brink of death. And then I'm sure he did some other things, but she clocked right away after she learned about Feruchemy. Oh, because she kept thinking he used to wear glasses. He was wearing glasses for a bit and then he stopped wearing glasses. That's what he was doing. He was conserving his eyesight. But at the same time, did he know that this was going to happen with Vin? Because why was he preparing for that?
Right.
You know? So is there another aspect of his Feruchemy that helped him to save her at this point?
Right.
Or at that point. So yeah, I want to learn more about it because they didn't really dig into all the different aspects of this type of power. And I hope we hear more. This is like a whole nother world of, I guess, magic in this world. So that's so cool.
I'm really glad you brought that up because as we move on to our two characters that have impactful moments, he's the one that I brought up as mine to talk about was Sazed and just more of his ability. So I'm not going to re-say everything you just said, but my thing that I kept thinking about was, for one, I knew he was going to be powerful. So clearly this is kind of showing that. But one thing I do want to point out is that the only reason he actually even said anything is because Vin read it in the Lord Ruler's journal. And so he even talked about it there. He had an entry that he wrote about where he said The stories are apparently true. Some talismen have a remarkable ability that is most intriguing. Somehow they can store up their strength for use on the next day. Before they sleep at night, they spend an hour lying in their bedrolls, during which time they suddenly grow very frail in appearance, almost as if they have aged by half a century. Yet, when they wake up the next morning, they become quite muscular. Apparently, their powers have something to do with the metal bracelets and earrings that they always wear. So, Vin caught that journal entry and like asked him about it, and she pointed out like, "Hey, that's why you have all those earrings." And he even showed her like all the bracelets that he wore. But he was very hesitant to talk about it and explain it to her. He didn't even want to explain it to her, but she's the one that remembered the glasses. She was the one that remembered he saved her. And so he reluctantly said, "Yes, we store strength." So I'm with you, Steph. I want to know what more he can do, because I know that there's more to that power than what he's letting on. Sure. And there's a reason why he's hiding it. So I'm just like,
and like that's also how he's able to memorize all of these religions.
All of the religions,
yeah, he can store all that knowledge. Cool. Yeah. And I'm with you too. Like, how does that even work? Does the metal help? Like, I don't know. Like, I want to know more. This was super interesting. Yeah. This was super interesting. I'm glad we got more, but now I have just way more questions.
I know. Yeah. It's like this whole other open book of like, more power.
Yeah.
Opened a whole can of worms.
For real. Yeah.
So the other character that I want to talk about that I felt like was very impactful, at least in this section, was going back to Kelsier. And we were talking about this earlier, Ethan, where you said there was a parallel between the Lord Ruler and maybe some of the decisions that like Ben was making. I saw it more of like there was a parallel between Kelsier and the Lord Ruler, especially when Kelsier was reading the journal on his way to the caves. He read a really interesting entry that I want to bring up. So he was like, after he read the entry, this is what Kelsier was thinking to himself. He said, "The Lord Ruler's story reminded Kelsier of the legends he had heard, stories whispered by Ska, discussed by noblemen, and memorized by keepers. They claimed that once before the ascension, the Lord Ruler had been the greatest of men, a beloved leader, a man entrusted with the fate of all mankind." So like, I'm seeing a lot of parallel there. Like right now, Kelsier is like making himself this person right now. He's spreading all these rumors about himself. He's like showing up to the Ska as like this great and powerful person. He's trying to make sure that the noblemen have heard whispers of him and how he's like the savior, right? He's the survivor of Hasness or whatever. And so like, he's doing the exact same things that the Lord Ruler did back when he was a good guy, right? And so kind of what you mentioned, Ethan, in our last episode was, or I think maybe it was Steph, I don't know, one of you two mentioned it, but you said, not all evil start off with bad intentions, right? So they start off with like really good intentions. They think that what they're doing is right. They think that what they're doing is going to help the people. And I think that I'm seeing that in Kelsier. He thinks that he's doing right by trying to overthrow the empire, just like the Lord Ruler thought he was doing right by getting rid of whatever he was getting rid of or whatever.
But you know what I see there in addition to that is, yes, at just like face value, I could totally see that. But I'm wondering if Kelsier has maybe stumbled upon some of this knowledge before and taking those stories and say, well, hey, if it worked for the Lord Ruler, it might as well work for me too. Right? And maybe like, let's try to get these Ska to believe in something. That way I can use that. Like he's still coming at it from a self-centered way. Like, so I can use that to defeat the Lord Ruler. Like, let's use his own medicine against him. And then I could see that completely backfiring in general, right? Because I'm still of the opinion that Kelsier doesn't make it to the end of this book. And so we truly do see a disconnect between the Lord Ruler and Kelsier then. And that's when it, maybe the disconnect is, it was never meant to be a man all along, and it's meant to be Vin, the woman, and so, so it turns it on its head. But I can see like all of that or none of it being true,
Yeah, I mean,
that.
I thought that was really interesting, but I can totally see where you're coming from. Like, he's trying, because he seems to be a lot of steps ahead of everybody else, right? He seems to be like, I mean, one of the sections showed where he was meeting up with an informant, and then at the next scene he was posing as an informant, so he's thinking of
Mm-hmm.
all these different things that he knows he needs to do to put that word out there, to really start that rebellion. And so I'm just like, that's a little
Yeah.
scary to be that smart when you don't have the best
Right.
intentions. At least that's how
Yeah.
Right.
I'm seeing it. I could be totally
Totally.
wrong, and he could have the
No,
best
yeah.
intentions, and maybe things will be better once the empires overthrown.
I
Who
don't know.
knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still a
He's,
complicated character, right? He's
oh,
Yeah.
for
still
sure.
imperfect.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Okay, so my two, I mean, I'm not going to hit CZ over the head, like our readers with CZ again, but he was one that came up to me, and I love everything that we learned about his character in this section.
Yeah.
I think it is so awesome. And it kind of reiterated the idea of that dystopian feel that you were talking about earlier, Steph.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, my favorite novel of all time is The Giver. And
Yeah.
in The Giver, you have the giver, but then you also have the receiver of memory. But
Right.
when I read CZ in this section, and he referred to himself, as a keeper, it
Mm-hmm.
reminded me a lot of that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll talk more about it like in my prediction later, but there's a part of that gives prediction vibes. So
Okay.
saving that, putting a pin in it. And then Vin makes an appearance in my two again, but the way she interacts with other characters is
Okay.
what made me kind of, I guess, gravitate towards her, because she meets a lot of people and meets recurring characters like Ellen. And
Right.
so I immediately latched on to the parts where we get more of Ellen, and his demeanor, and he's just as over it, as anyone else is, but he plays his cards very close to the chest, and he's learned how to play the game just like Vin is learning how to play the game currently, and so of high society. And it can be very, dangerous when you're talking about overthrowing the government and you're in one of the most noble houses of the era. And so, yeah, I thought that was really intriguing. And then you bring Shan into the mix, and on what she wants to do, like that, seeing her like get her claws, her emotional weaving claws into everyone as she was like soothing her writing. I don't know, sometimes it makes me feel like she's rioting, right, rather than
Yeah.
soothing.
Yeah.
And so Ven just automatically clocks her as a soother. I was like, oh,
It looks like she
sure.
riots a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the whole dynamic between now that Vin is monkey in the middle between Ellen and Shan, I'm like, this is a recipe for disaster, and I am set.
100%.
This is gonna
100%.
Yes.
go so wrong, and I'm so ready to see how it turns out.
Yes.
Let's turn the page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so for my two character moments, again, as per usual, it's gonna be Kelsey and Ben. So, Jen, you already brought this up in your three things when Kelsier made the army believe that he could imbue his powers onto them. And you already brought up this quote, but there was a little bit more to it that I wanted to talk about. So, after that little scene that he concocted to make them feel like they could somehow receive his powers, and he's talking to Ham, he said, "It was only a partial lie. They don't need to be warriors. They merely have to look threatening long enough for us just to grab the adium. With it, we can bribe the garrison and our men won't have to fight. That's virtually the same thing as what I promised. Sometimes we need to do things that we find distasteful, Ham. My ego may be considerable, but this is about something something else entirely." So I almost wonder if he knows that he's kind of towing the line of like good and bad here.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we know that he is set out to complete this plan no matter the cost.
Yeah.
But I think he almost sees himself as, I am willing to do the dirty work to get my hands dirty to make sure this happens.
Mm-hmm.
whether it's good, whether it's right or wrong, good or bad, I'm willing to be the one to do the dirty work here, you know?
Right.
Not to say that he's right to do that,
Right.
but you know, I wonder if he almost thinks that that's a noble thing that he's doing, you know. Obviously, we've already said Kelsier's still a complicated character. Is he really a hero in this story?
Right.
Sometimes yes and sometimes no.
Yeah.
And he's very much a morally gray character, and I'm loving the complication here. He's an anti-hero on one hand and a hero on the other. So I'm like,
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's
what
funny
is going
that
on?
you read the rest of the quote that I read because I think I stopped right at where it makes him look like a bad
Uh-huh.
person. And when
Yeah.
you read the rest, it made more sense. He
There's
was like,
more to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's one of those things where when you are reading, you start taking things into context for what you already
Hmm.
think of that person. To me, in my head, I was already thinking Kelsier's not a good person, right? I said that in the very first episode.
Yeah.
So anything that I'm seeing, I'm taking into context of that in that way, with that perspective.
Hmm.
You're seeing it in a different way. So you're highlighting on different things that he's saying and doing. So I
Yeah.
think it was just really interesting.
Yeah. I
I'm not
think
saying
this
either
doesn't
one of us.
clarify it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
one of us is right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, in the way that people read and interpret things, like, that's what happens,
Hmm.
right? And so I
Yeah.
Yeah.
love that. I love this is one of the reasons why I do love discussing things with y'all, because it's like we do these type of things where we pick up on all different kinds of things and then we all bring it together and just try to make
Yeah.
sense of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always so fun.
It is fun.
And then my second thing is something again that we've already kind of discussed, where Vin seems to be a little more sympathetic towards the nobles in this section, and she's having a hard time believing that they can also be this harsh towards the ska as what she's heard.
Mm-hmm.
And she's heard it from multiple sources now, but she is having a hard time opening her mind to her experience with the nobility is not the only experience that there is to have with the nobility. So this is again in her conversation with Dox after he told her about the way that his loved one got taken away by his lord at the plantation. No, wait, this is earlier when she's just thinking about the nobility. So she could see the beauty in the nobility. She wasn't like Kelsier, hating them outright. Some of them seemed quite kind in their own way, and she was beginning to think some of the stories the Ska told about their cruelty must be exaggerated. Yet, when she saw events like that poor boy's execution or the Ska children, she had to wonder, how could the nobility not see? How could they not understand? So this is before that conversation with Dox, like a couple chapters before. She had just witnessed that the Ska boy apparently was begging the nobility outside, or like after a ball outside, and one of the guards at the keep found this boy begging the nobility, and they rounded him up and took him out back and executed him for doing that because he was being inconvenient to the nobility.
Yeah.
After this ball. And so like obviously that was shocking to her, and so she's like back and forth on like, but they're good, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, a couple chapters later, after this conversation with Dox about the plantation and the lord that took his loved one away, I know that's what some of the Ska say, Dox, Vin said, but the people at the balls, they aren't like that. I've met them, danced with them, Dox. A lot of them are good people. I don't think they realize how terrible things are for the Ska. So again, it's just like highlighting how she cannot hold these parallels for these people in her head. Like she just can't wrap her mind around it. And I think it just has to do with her age and her naivety, you know? So
Well, and I also think
hopefully she gets around that and like
yeah.
figures it out, because it's not good.
Real quick.
Like you mentioned.
Yeah. Well, I think she's also trying to turn a blind eye because she's finally feeling where she's finally in a good place where she's not being beat up every day, right? She's not waking up with all this pain and all this mistrust and not knowing what's going to happen. So she's like, I'm finally in a good place. Why would I ruin that by mistrusting these people that are treating me well, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that leads us into our one prediction.
So in these chapters, Vin really brings up that Ellen has been kind of avoiding her at the balls. And so she's really in her head about it. she doesn't care, but yet she really cares. And she goes back and forth about it, right? And so at the very last ball in the section that we read, she finally confronts him. But this is after she had that conversation with Dox, because she wants to confront him about whether he has slept with any Skull women and whether, you know, he has executed somebody, right? And so she comes to find out that he did when he was 13, but that he didn't know that his father was going to kill her, but that he said after that he has not slept with another Skull woman. He would never do that. So kind of showing maybe like that he's on the Skull side and he sympathizes with them. So that gives another side of him that she really likes, because she likes this dude. It's obvious, right? So I'm really sensing a lot of foreshadowing about a potential partnership between Ellen and Ben, whether that is romantic, because we had the whole handkerchief scene where he gave her his handkerchief, right, which shows that he wants to be exclusive with her, right?
Or he wants to court her.
Yeah, he wants to court her, right? Or some kind of friendship, because he even talks about in his secret meeting with his friends that he wants to bring her into their circle. So whether it's a romantic relationship or friendship, I know there's some partnership coming up between them too, right? Mm-hmm. I can already see Vin ignoring everyone's warnings about him and the noblemen and like their cruel ways. She is just so set in her mind that he is a good person and that he would never, right? And so she's really leaning more into trusting Ellen here. And she's already telling him way too much about the Skull. Like when she was telling him on this stuff, I'm like, dude, shut up. Like, what are you doing?
You're saying too much, girl. Yeah.
She was like talking about the tunnels and like how they helped each other escape and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? And so
give away the farm.
So I can already see her telling him more of these secrets. I can see her even telling him about the caves. I can see her spilling this shit, right? But I also think that this is going to lead into a big betrayal for Rin. So she's been harping on betrayal, because that's what Rin has like taught her whole life. So I feel like Ellen is going to be that betrayal for her, whether it's intentional on his part or whether it's part of like people that he knows. Like I think there's going to be a huge betrayal, and that's just going to really mess with the mission, and that's going to kind of fuck things up a little bit. So
yeah,
that's my prediction.
I'm glad that you brought this up, because like this was one of the things that I almost decided to talk about for my character moments, because we're not sure exactly right now where Ellen stands on the situation with the Ska.
Yeah,
he seems to be a little bit rebellious and contrarian. But we don't know if that's because he's just a young contrarian and wants to be a little spice things up and like piss off his dad, or if he truly believes that the Ska should be treated better. We don't know that. Vin seems to be convinced that he is just good. He can't possibly be bad.
It's an awfully big assumption.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after she overhears his conversation with his friends, Kelsier actually shows up and tells her that he's been listening in on their conversations when they meet up secretly like this. And he's just like, oh, they're just young boys who are setting up alliances for whenever they're the lords of these great houses. Right. And it's nothing to worry about. It's nothing to look into. They're just being young and contrarian. And let's remember that Kelsier grew up as a noble, for all intents and purposes. Vin has only been part of this world for a few months at this point.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to accept it because she has a crush on Ellen.
Yes.
And this is why she's so hung up on, no, the nobles are good. They're good, you know? And so she'll take whatever evidence she can find that proves to her that Ellen is not one of these bad ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting too, because I think it kind of strengthens the idea that there's going to be a big betrayal. I don't know if it's Ellen or what, but I can't remember if she's talking to Doxson or if it's Cezed. I think it's Cezed, but she's almost acting like she's giving advice on, or here's what you should do. And they're like 2 months as an Allomancer and you're suddenly the expert.
Yeah.
Right? It kind of puts her in check, but it's still foreshadowing that something, like, because she is quick to assume
Yeah.
the best in people rather than the
Right.
worst. And I kind of hate that because it would prove Reen right, because I
I
don't really
know.
like Reen
Yeah.
right now, and we haven't even
Right.
met him officially.
I know.
But yeah.
Like, where did this girl come from? Like, literally, you were like
Yeah.
on the opposite side of the spectrum of things, and now you're all of a sudden like a noble sympathizer. Like, what the hell?
What's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
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 She's
So
just young.
I
I
know.
know. I know.
Yeah.
Doesn't really give 16 or 17-year-old girls a good rep.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I was making
Yeah.
really bad decisions at 17, so yeah.
Yeah,
All of
no.
us were, because we're
No
so
one's
like
saying that
we're so
didn't.
focused on ourselves at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. We speak from experience.
Exactly. Exactly. Honey, he's gonna
I don't
betray
know
you.
what you mean.
Yeah. I
don't
know
know what
because
you
I
mean.
know.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. Oh, the many late night telephone calls. But anyway, my prediction revolves back to Sazed and the keepers and the reason why the Lord Ruler doesn't want him around. And so I don't know what exactly that is yet, but they keep on referring to keepers of like memories of the past. And so I kind of latched onto that. And we were also talking about, adium and other metals that could affect time somehow. There's something in the past that keepers are privy to. And that's the threat. I think that's the threat. And I think the powers that keepers have maybe have the capacity to get stronger through generations, and that's why their fertility is also kept in check. Their ability to pass on that ability or whatever they have. So I think that's my prediction.
Maybe they're the only ones who can wield the 11th metal.
Ooh.
Maybe that's why they're trying to get rid
cool.
of them, because like nobody knows
Yeah.
about the 11th metal. Their powers are still somewhat connected to metals. What if they're the only ones who can wield it and know how to wield it?
Yeah, or they're the only ones
Cool.
that know the identity of the 11th metal. Like maybe that's
What it is.
That's true,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
and so the Lord Ruler's like, I'm keeping you under,
Yeah.
my thumb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you've got the only other person that knows this information is me, and I'm going to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Ooh, interesting.
Okay, so my theory is kind of along the same lines, Ethan. So I wish I had written it down when I read it, but it didn't like click for me in my head until this section. But I think it was one of the epigraphs in one of our earlier sections that we've already discussed.
Okay.
But there was a point in time where one of the epigraphs mentioned something about a prophecy of some sort about the hero of ages.
I love a good
And
prophecy.
Right. And so one of these epigraphs said something to the effect of like, they say I might be this hero of ages, and I'm not so sure about that, but they tell me I am, so like here I am on this path or something like that. Something to that effect is what I took from it. I can't remember where it was.
It's in this
It
section
was like
that
in
we
one
read.
of the earlier sections. Was it in this section?
Yeah. It's in
Okay.
it's in one of the
Like
chapters.
19-ish.
Well, it's one of the chapters where I think like Kelsey was reading the log.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my theory, and it has to do with the Tearsman. My theory is that the Lord Ruler thought that he might be this hero from the prophecy, but that at some point he was made aware, and it was very clear to him that he was not actually this hero of ages, but he was like too far down the line to like stop what he was doing. And now he's afraid that the Tearsmen are going to unravel his whole empire basically by saying like he is not our guy, like this is not it.
This is where they revealed the Wizard of Oz guy. Yeah.
Right. Like this is like he's not it, he's not our hero. And so like maybe he knows that now for sure, and he doesn't want other people to think this or know this, and the Tearsmen hold that truth somehow. Maybe it's in their religion, maybe it's the prophecy of their religion, because we know religion is also tied to prophecy sometimes. So that's my theory.
That's very good.
I like that one. I think that one may have legs.
Yeah. I think all of ours do, really.
Yeah.
Of course, we all thought about that, like thought the same thing about all of our predictions with Fourth
That's
Wing.
what's so fun about it.
It is. I don't care if I'm wrong. I just like the idea getting there was fun.
Yeah, it really was.
Right. Yeah.
It's just that much better if it is correct.
Yeah.
Which honestly, Steph, you talked about the epigraphs being from the Lord Ruler's like point of view. I think that's why the journal got brought into this, because I think you're right. Like I think they're tied together, and I think that just kind of emphasizes your theory that was correct.
Yeah, or like the journal is where the epigraphs are coming from. Like that's what I'm led to believe.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah. And then Cezanne said that he has not finished translating it yet. So
maybe this is the book that revealed.
I know. Yeah, we'll see. There's still more.
If it's his journal, it would make sense, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. So that was the end of our deep dive on chapters 16 through 23 of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Thank you so much for joining us and interacting with us on our social media. We love hearing your comments and theories. So please discuss away. And then next time, we're going to be talking about chapters 24 through 31. So make sure to read those chapters before you listen to our next episode. And again, interact with us on our social media pages. We are Books Between Friends Pod on all platforms. And be on the lookout for our clips. And be sure to join in the discussion. Like, tell us what your thoughts are, what your theories and predictions are. That's our favorite part. And yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. And that's it. Period.
Done.
All right. So, like Steph said, for next time, we are covering chapters 24 through 31. The rebellion is heating up, and the stakes have never been higher. In next week's Books Between Friends, Vin sharpens her Mistborn skills while navigating the deadly politics of Luthadel's ballrooms. Kelsier pushes his war against the Final Empire into bold new territory, and the Steel Ministry's shadow looms larger than ever. As secrets unravel, loyalties are tested, and hope begins to clash with hard reality. Will the crew's plan hold together, or are cracks already starting to show? Join us as we dive into the intrigue, the action, and the dangerous heart of Sanderson's world in Mistborn. And also subscribe to our newsletter.
Yay.